Hello everyone, my name is Ruth Swimmer, and today I'm going to teach you how to research Oklahoma law using the Oklahoma State Court Network website. Now, most people when they go to search Oklahoma law are not going to remember Oklahoma State Court Network website, right? So what you're looking for is Oklahoma State law. You're looking for court records. So I'm going to type in Oklahoma law and hit enter into Google. And what I'm looking for is the OSCN.net website, Oklahoma statutes, right? That's what we call laws in Oklahoma. We call them statutes. So I click here and it's going to take me straight to the Oklahoma statutes. Now, normally if you type it, if you remember OSCN.net, you'll end up being taken to the home page of the Oklahoma Supreme Court Network. So this is, or State Court Network, the Oklahoma State Court Network. So if we're going to look up Oklahoma law, we're going to click on legal research. I can click it here on the right hand side, or I can click it up at the top, legal research. I'll click legal research at the top, and I am looking for the Oklahoma statutes citationized. We'll talk about what citationized means in just a minute, but we're going to click on Oklahoma statutes citationized. Now, we see that page that we saw at first. We looked into it, but this is a list of the titles of Oklahoma law. So if you've ever seen one of those commercials where the lawyers, there's an attorney standing there and there's all of these books behind them, those are law books. They either have state or federal law in them because you're learning how to be a paralegal and you're most likely to work in state law. We're looking at the Oklahoma state laws. But in those sets of books that have all the laws in them, each book roughly is called a title in Oklahoma. And so there are, let's scroll down and see how many there are. Titles 1 through 85A, right? And you can see here that they are in alphabetical order. So let's start up at the top. Abstracting, agriculture, aircraft and airports, banks, blind persons, right? There's the B's. Here's some D's. Damages, debtors and collectors, elections, game and fish, husband and wife, justices and constables, labor, landlord and tenant, right? Going all the way down through here to workers' compensation with the W. So Oklahoma state law is organized by category, by subject. Those subjects are in alphabetical order. All right. So here, when we're looking at an index like this, it says index of available documents. This is index of available titles. When we're looking at this, we have the option to open up a specific title. One that is commonly people are interested in would be crime, right? Everybody loves crime. Here's crimes and punishments and criminal procedure. But let's look at Title 21, crimes and punishments. I can see down into everything that's in that Title 21 if I click on the word expand next to Title 21. It's going to open up Title 21 for me if I click on expand. So I click there, and you'll notice that under Title 21 there's Chapter 1 is the preliminary provisions. Chapter 2 is general provisions. Right? We're seeing all these sections. That is what that sign means. Section 142.9. Chapter 3, Chapter 4. Okay, so one thing to know is that these chapters are there to help organize the law, but when we refer to a law, we never use the chapter. So if we're citing a law, we are not going to use the chapter. We're just going to use that section number. Another thing to know about laws is they start from 1, right? This is when the laws are first being written. They started with Section 1. But the newer parts of the law are usually down at the bottom. If we scroll all the way to the bottom, see there's Chapter 40, junk dealers, Chapter 41, lotteries, pawnbrokers, environmental crimes, tobacco, 55 other crimes against public peace, masks, disguises, and right? So this is all the newer stuff that's down here, frauds and offenses in corporate affairs. dogfighting, cockfighting, larceny. Okay, so this one's huge. This title is huge. In fact, if you looked at it in a set of books, the criminal law title giving the definitions of crimes is multiple volumes. It won't fit into one book. There's multiple books. But anyway, notice too that there are some sections that have been repealed. They used to be the law and they aren't anymore, but we're not going to put a new law where an old law used to be. We're going to repeal that law, and we're not ever going to use that number again. Okay. So let's say now that you know how one of these is laid out, let's go ahead back up to the top. I'm going to scroll all the way back up to the top. Some of the titles are not this long, but crime and punishment is a very common one. Let's go up one level. I want to go back to where I could see all of the titles. All right, so I can go up one level. And now I have the option, let's say that I want to search for a law. I have the option of searching all of the Oklahoma statutes by clicking on this word search, or I could click on the specific title that I want to search. Let's say I want to know what the definition of murder is in Oklahoma right now. Well, the definition of murder is going to come in that crimes and punishments section. So in this case, I know which title that I want to search. I want to search Title 21, Crimes and Punishments. So I'm going to click the search button, and it's going to give me a search box here, and I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm looking for the word murder. I may come up with a lot of results. I may come up with a few. Let's see. I typed in murder and hit enter. And right here I'm seeing definitions for murder in the first degree. Now, it found 25 documents. That's the maximum that it's going to bring back. So that means that actually there's probably more than 25 documents. I'm going to look through here and see which one I want. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so murder in the first degree. Great, that's what I want, right? Well, I need to check the effective date. This one was effective in May of 2009. And it was superseded in 2012. Superseded means that it was replaced. That law was replaced in 2012. So this was the law of murder in the first degree between 2009 and 2012. This is no longer the definition of first degree murder in Oklahoma. And if we look at the next one, it was effective between 2006 and 2009 when it was replaced. This one was from 2004 to 2006. The next one was just for 20 days in 1997. This was the definition of murder in the first degree. But finally I get to this one, and this one right here has an effective date of November 1st, 2012, and it does not say superseded. That means that this is still the law that's in effect. I have the option here. I can retrieve the hit highlighted document. That means that if I do this, if I click on this one, I'll get the law where the word murder is highlighted. That was my search term. Or I could get it without any highlights. So the words murder's not highlighted. Let's click on retrieve hit highlighted document. See, the word murder's in red. This is the definition of first degree murder in Oklahoma right now. We could read it, and so there it is. If you scroll down through the law, some laws are longer, some laws are shorter. You'll see it's historical data underneath the text of the law. It says historical data. This explains that the law started in 1976 during an extra session of Congress of the Senate. It was Senate Bill 1. So if you wanted to read through this, you could see the whole legislative history of this law. But also here at the bottom are court cases in Oklahoma that have discussed this law. So these are published cases that have discussed this law. So if we had a client and we were trying to figure out if they would be convicted of first degree murder, one of the things we'd want to do is read cases where people had been convicted of first-degree murder, or maybe they had been found not guilty of first-degree murder. We would want to see how the courts in Oklahoma have actually ruled on this law. And that is what all of these cases are. See, there's one that says cited. That means it was not discussed much. The law was just cited. But this one, it says discussed. So in Pace versus Young, it was discussed. This law was discussed. So what I'm really looking for, though, is discussed at length. That means this law was discussed at length in the Stoller v. State case. And if I click on that, it will actually, I'm going to right click so I can open in a new tab. It will give me, dun, da, da, here is the case. So I could read more about it. And I would need to, again, if I had a client who was accused of first-degree murder, I would want to read these cases and find out how Oklahoma courts interpret this Oklahoma law. All right, so now I have found the, there's tons of them, by the way. You all discussed at length. There's a lot of cases to read. So we'll scroll back up. Now, why are the, let's go, I can go top of index, this point in the index. Let's look at this point in the index. This is going to take me back to the index for Title 21. It's showing me that it's right here. It's section 701.7. It's in the murder section, right, of the homicide chapter. So I can see kind of where it fit in. And second degree murder, by the way, is the next section. So that's great. So let me scroll back up to the top. And I want to do my search of the word murder again, because I just want to show you one last thing, which is the question of why these laws are still here. Well, let's say that somebody went, my neighbor reported that they saw a bone sticking out in my backyard. It appeared to be a human bone. The police would then have probably enough probable cause to enter my backyard and look and see if there was a human bone. Let's say that there was a femur bone sticking out of my backyard. So they would start digging it up, and let's say they took it to forensics and found out that this bone dated back from the year 1997. So I didn't live in the house in 1997. So they might need to go find the person who did live there in 1997. Hopefully they wouldn't suspect me. But the question is, if we saw that that skeleton had a gunshot in its head, then there might be the idea that that person had been murdered. But if we found the culprit, let's say that the murder weapon was there, buried, and it had DNA evidence on it, and that DNA was tested, and it related back to somebody who was already in the DNA database, and they were charged with first-degree murder, they would need to be charged with first-degree murder as it was defined in the year 1997 when they committed the crime. So that's why the old definitions are still there. Now, let's go back. Again, I'm going to go I'm just going to go to legal research, Oklahoma statute citationized, and now let's say this time that I want to search something. Let's say that I'd like to know about the new Oklahoma cannabis law, but I don't know where it's going to be. Like, there's not a title on cannabis, there's not a title on medicine, there's not a title on drugs. So where am I going to look this up? I don't know which title to look in, but I can, next to Oklahoma Statute Citationized, click the search button and search all of it. I'm going to search for the word cannabis. Oops. All right, so there it is, cannabis. I'm going to retrieve, this is the definition, and definition is not what I'm necessarily looking for. But let's see if I can find here. Okay, so cannabis was one way for me to get at this. I also put a slash in accidentally at the end of it. But cannabis, I'm getting a lot of definitions. Let me try this. I want to try a synonym. I want to try a similar word and look up the word marijuana. All right, now I've gotten to more of what I want. This is in Chapter 15 of Title 63. Title 63 is Public Health and Safety. So that's where the marijuana laws are. Here is the license application, caregiver license. Let's go ahead and click on this one. I'm going to retrieve this. Okay, so this explains a person in possession of a state-issued medical marijuana license shall be able to, and here's what someone possessing that medical license can do. Now, I need to see this point in the index. I want to see the laws that are around it. This point in index, I'm going to click there. It's going to take me into Title 63, and it's going to jump me down to that section that I was just looking at, which turns out it's Section 420 under medical marijuana, and the other marijuana laws are right here nearby if I want to read more about them. So let's see yet if there's been any court cases. Probably not. This is very new. Okay, so there is one reference to this law. It's very new again, so there's not many court cases on it. But that is how you would do a basic search in the Oklahoma State Court Network website to research Oklahoma law. Thank you very much.